Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 36 of a 41-part series of tutorials in Fundamentals of Object-Oriented Programming in Java. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about what we call the Java nested classes. My name is MemJM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. A nested class is a class that has been defined inside another class. This means that some classes become inner classes while others become outer classes. Therefore, in Java, it is also possible to nest the classes, that is, have a class within a class. The purpose of nested classes is to group classes that belong together, which makes your code more readable and maintainable. One advantage of inner classes is that they can access attributes and methods of the outer class, and therefore that also helps the programmer minimize on the amount of code that he or she repeats. To access the inner class, you create an object of the outer class and then create an object of the inner class. For example, if you have an outer class called data entry, and with an inner class called calculation, you can create an object of the inner class as follows: data entry dot calculation followed by the name of the object, which is my calculation. And so this statement, my dear students, and the rest of the learners, tells the processor or the compiler that you want to create a new object. You want to create a new object and therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, this statement or this kind of statement informs you or informs the compiler or the processor that you are creating an object to manipulate the inner class called calculation, but this class is found inside the class called data entry. So unlike a regular class, the inner class can be private or protected. If you do not want outside objects to access the inner class, you declare the class as private as follows. So we have the outer class as data entry, and then the inner class, we define it as private class calculation. And of course, you define it. And you define the rest of the outer class. You can also make use of a static inner class, which means that you can access it without creating an object of the outer class. Now, the advantage is that the inner class will be able to access the attributes of the outer class because the inner class will be a member of the outer class. So it will inherit the properties of the outer class. So a static inner class does not have access to members of the outer class and is coded as follows. So in other words, the inner class is not able to access the outer class. It's not able to access the attributes of the class in which it belongs if it is defined as static. So that is done as follows. So we have outer class, then you precede the inner class with the word static. So the following is a sample program implementing nested class that prompts the user to enter the length and width of a rectangle, then it computes its area and the perimeter and displays the results on the screen. So the name of the file is nested class calculate, which of course we can call it as the name of our project. Now it computes and displays area and perimeter of a rectangle. So our package, the name of our project is nested class calculate. Then we have import java.atil.scanner, then followed by the class. And the class here is data entry class. Under that, we have two members who are length and width of type integer. Then we have a member called dimensions. Now this member, who is a method, will read the dimensions using the object we have declared for reading by the name input. So we request the user enter the length of the rectangle, and within that value and assign it in the member called length. We request the user to enter the width of the rectangle, and the user enters a value which is saved in the method called the width. So from there, we define a class, an inner class called calculation. Now note that this inner class is inside this other class. So this class called data entry, the class called data entry, has these members. It has the data members, and it has a method called dimensions, but we are also having another class inside it. And the name of this class is calculation. Now this inner class has two members, data members, who are area and perimeter. And within it, we have the definition of a member, a method called compute parameter, which of course performs the task of reading the value in the member called length and the member called width, and multiply the values, the value of length and that width multiplied by 2, and the answer is assigned in the member called perimeter. Note that the member or the value of the member called length and the value in the member called width have not been defined within a class called calculation, but it has been defined outside in the outer class. The outer class here is data entry. Now, the data entry class is the one which has the members length and width. And therefore, because this inner class called the calculation is a member of the outer class, that is why the inner class is able to access the members of the outer class, that is length and width, read the values from there, and assign the answer gotten in the member called the perimeter. So that is the power or the advantage of having an inner class, because you don't need to redefine certain members or certain attributes, but those attributes can just be inherited from the outer class in which an inner class belongs. And then we have another member, another method called compute area. Now you can see this is also another inner method. This inner method does not even have any declaration of its own. It is in fact inheriting the members from other members. For example, we have area, length, and width, the value in length and value in width, and being multiplied, and the result is being assigned in memory location called area. Yet, we don't have area defined. We don't have area defined inside this method, but because compute area is a member of the inner class called calculate or calculation, we are able to access this member called area from there. So this method called compute area is able to access length and width, which are found in the outer class, defined in the outer class, and also inherit area or access area, which is a member of the class in which, that is class calculation, in which compute area belongs. So from there, we have public class called nested class calculate. And then what does it do? It has the definition of the main class where we are creating object for the outer class using this statement. So we are creating an object to manipulate the data of the outer class, that is by the name my data. And then from there, we are able to create object for the next entity class. The object for the next entity class, which is called calculation. So this statement is creating object for the next entity class, that is for the inner class, and the name of this object is my calculation, and the inner class is calculation. Then we are able to invoke the method called dimensions through the object called my data. We are able to invoke the method called dimensions through the object my data. Then we prompt the user to enter the length of the rectangle and the value which is read. The value which is read is, or the value which is entered by the user. Simply, this statement is not really prompting the user to enter. This statement is simply displaying a value. So it's not prompting the user to enter. What it is doing is it is displaying the value in the length for the rectangle. So this statement will be displayed on the screen. The length for this rectangle is, the processor will go and read the value stored in the member called length, who is accessible through the object called my data, and that value will be displayed on the screen at this point. Next, this statement will be displayed on the screen. While its width is, then the processor will go and read the content in the member called width, who is accessible through the object my data. That value will be read and be displayed on the screen. Next, we invoke the perimeter computation method through the object called my calculation. Next, we invoke the area computation method through the object my calculation. After that, this statement will be displayed on the screen. Therefore, its perimeter is, the compiler of the process will go and read the value in the member called perimeter, who is accessible through the object for that class by the name my calculation. Then the next statement which will be displayed on the screen is, while its area is, then the processor will go and read the value in the member called area, who is accessible through the object my calculation, and that value will be displayed here. And that is how this program for nested classes will work. So my dear students and the rest of the learners, let us copy this program, which we have discussed, and have it in Eclipse IDE. We code it in Eclipse IDE so that you can see how it will behave. Remember, the name of the project is Nested Class Calculate. Nested Class Calculate. And the name of the outer class will be Data Entry. Will be Data Entry. So let's proceed. We load our IDE and then we key in this program. So let's launch IDE, that is Eclipse. So we launch our Eclipse IDE. Once we launch our IDE, we shall proceed and create the project. So our IDE has loaded. So we can proceed and create our project. So what is the name of our project? The name of our project is nested. Let's see that name. I have said the name of this class is this. It's important for you to note how we name our project and our classes for the nested classes. So it is nested class calculate. So nested class calculate. So we call our project nested class calculate. Nested class calculate. And you can see, as usual, begin in lowercase. Then click on finish. Then we right click on our project, point on new, and then we click on class. Note that the name of the class should still be similar. The name of the, it should be the name of the file, the name we want to give to our file. So I'll still call it nested class, nested class calculate. And then, of course, we have public static void main string, and then we click on finish. So you can see that the main will be under this class, nested class calculate. And that is the name of the file, as you can see here. So we can paste our program here. Let's paste our code here so that you can see how our program will behave. So we have to make now adjustments to our code. So the package is nested class calculate. And therefore, we are going to retain the name of our class as nested class calculate. So we are going to replace, then we copy this statement first of all, and put it where it is supposed to be. That's the comment of our program. So I'll have it on top here. So that's our comment. Then the name of our package should be the name of our project, nested class calculate. So this statement here, if you look at this name here and this name here, you can see they are not the same. So the name of our class should be nested class calculate in lowercase. So what I'll do is I'll take this class here, or let me erase this part completely so that my dear students and the rest of the learners, I can show you how to work out this program. So the name of our class is supposed to begin with the lowercase. So I will erase there and begin with lowercase there. So this is the name of the class. So that is okay. Then we have that bit there. We have our outer class there. Then we have our dimensions there. We have our definition as discussed. Then we have this class here. The inner class here is class calculate. It remains that way. Always remember to indent your code nicely for ease of corrections, and also to enable you to be able to know where any error might be. Then we also have under this class calculate, we have that member there. We have that method for calculating area and the one for calculating perimeter. So that's okay. Now, if you look here, my dear students, and the rest of the learners, you have to ensure that the name of this class here is similar to the name of the file. Instead, the class calculate.java. So that's okay. Then in the program, within the code, you need to ensure that the objects you have defined are defined correctly. The data entry, then we have my data there, that's okay. We have the statements for displaying and reading values through the objects, that's okay. Then you can indent this phrase correctly. There we go. You can also indent this bit so that you are able to tell the difference. Let's indent it a little bit. That way, this one belongs there. This one is for that. Good. So that's our program. Let's save it. And then we run it so that we see whether our program is okay. Good. My dear students and the rest of the learners, you can see that our program is executing. It has no error. The most important part for you to note, my dear students and the rest of the learners, is that the name of the class, bearing in mind we have several classes here, we have the class, like we have this class called data entry, which is outer class. Then we have an inner class called calculation as inner class. And then we also have another class here. We have this class called public class nested calculate. The question is, where is this class? This class, this one, this class is not. So I repeat, my dear students, that this public class here is not inside this other class. There's a class by its own. And this outer class as an inner class called the calculation. But this outer class, as you can see, is a class on its own. And it is inside this class called nested class calculate that we have the main method. And it is this class which is determining the name of the file. So don't mix them up. Note that ordering. And therefore, we are being told to enter the length of the rectangle. So we can type, for example, 5. Enter the width of the rectangle. We can enter, for example, 6. Once we do that, you can see we are being told that the length of this rectangle is 5. The width is 6. Therefore, its perimeter is 22, while its area is 30. So, my dear students and the rest of the learners, you can see that the value 6 and the 5, which has been entered through the inner class, which have been entered through the outer class called data entry, those values are being able to be accessed by the inner class called calculate, compute the perimeter, and to compute the area, and the results gotten have been able to be accessed by the main class. The most important thing to remember is which object is being used to access which class. And how do we create an object for the inner class? As you can see from this statement and as explained. And therefore, with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we can close all our editors and then we exit from our IDE. And that's how we work with the nested classes. So we have been able to see how this program has been able to behave and how we have been able to use the nested classes, create objects for the nested classes, and code the program in IDE. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of part 36 of the series. You can now proceed and watch, listen, and exercise or practice part 37 of the series, in which we are going to learn about what we call Java encapsulation. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, congratulations for learning part 36 of 41 on Java nested classes in fundamentals of object-oriented programming using Java. You can access the rest of the parts in the series, as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on MLSWAP ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's meet in part 7 of the series, and God bless.